Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, how are you? My name is Brian. I was born, it was in the year 1992 in Rusape, Zimbabwe. So to those that are going to be listening to my confession, know that I am not looking for pity. I just want other people to know that being a ritualist, there is nothing good that will ever come out of it. I want someone, even if it is going to be one soul that is going to be saved because of my confession, it will be for the better. I want people to understand that sacrificing even your own children will never give you happiness so that you can just have money. When I became a ritualist, like it was a process, it did not happen in one day. It did not happen because I came here to South Africa, but it began when I was still a young boy. I was the youngest of the three boys. My father died when I was still very young. Then my mother passed away as well. She was sick, and it was from a disease that made her to cough. She used to cough out blood. After that, that was when we were taken by one of our uncles, our father's brother. But it was not because he wanted to take care of us, but it was because he just wanted to use us at his homestead. We were more like his slaves. Then our auntie pretended as if she wanted us to return back to school. She took us to the city because she was staying in the city. And then she said that she wanted us to return back for the schooling holidays back to the rural areas. So we moved from the city and we returned back to Rusape. And then when we were there, she promised us that she was going to come back and take us back to the city, but it never happened like that. So this auntie of ours, even though they used to call her Auntie Marudo, but she never had a child, she would say, if I will ever have a child, I would want to name my child Rudo. That is why we used to call her Auntie Marudo. And she had no kids of her own. She raised us, but sometimes she would be kind. And then there were other times when she would be so evil, so heartless. And she used to treat us as if we were slaves. There were many days when she would force us to go and fetch firewood. Even this other day when she came from the city, she then told us that we were supposed to go to this other borehole, which was very far from the village where we were staying. We went there and we collected the water. When we returned back, she then said that she did not trust us enough to drink that water. She wanted us to boil the water so that she can bath with it. She did not even care that we had walked for a very long distance just to bring her that water. She was someone that was very manipulative. Sometimes she would be angry at us, then the next moment she would make us feel as if we were her own kids. When I turned 21, that was when I decided to leave Rusape behind. I sold my only cow that I had. I had worked for a very long time for this cow. I used to work for the village headman. He was not paying me with money, but he said, if you work for me, I am going to give you a cow. And then that was when I sold it and I left Rusape and I started staying with this other cousin of mine who had came to Harare a very long time ago. He was someone that was just a drunkard. That is all that he cared about. He had never returned back to the village after he had started staying in the city. We were staying in an area that is called Mbare. For 6 months, me and my brother, we stayed together. Me staying with him, it was not easy. We used to starve because whenever you would have money and he was jobless again, when he would get some money, instead of going to buy some food for us to eat, he would rather buy chibuku. He was always drunk and he would want more and more. He would say food does not matter, beer is what matters. There were days when I would go to the fruit and veggie markets after those that will be selling their fruit and vegetables would have closed their shops, and then I would pick up the tomatoes that would have gone bad and I would cook that. Then I got lucky. There was this other security company near Granite Site. They needed some night guards, but I had no license, and I had heard about the supervisor. I went and I spoke with him, and the supervisor said, since you did not go for training, you are going to pay me $5 so that I can process you into the company. I borrowed that money, and the following week I was now working, and I was happy because in my entire life I had never imagined that one day I was going to have a pay slip. Someone would pay me for working for them. And I want other people out there who would be listening to my confession to know that in this world, when you have a child that you are staying with, it does not matter if the child is yours or if it is not your child. Never make that mistake whereby you curse or you say bad things about the child that you'll be staying with, because if you see someone that has a lot of misfortunes and bad luck, it does not start when you are old. It starts from a very young age, as people will be telling you that you are not going to be anything in life. Like those bad spirits, they will follow you. That is what my auntie used to say. She would say that I would never amount to anything in life, and she would say you will never even have a pay slip in your life. You will never even get a job. You will just die unemployed. So at that time, I was so excited. I found a place where I could stay, and then I bought nice food, and then I made the mistake. I started sending money to my auntie, not knowing that she had evil plans that she had planned with my money. I even bought my first second-hand Samsung. I did something that was stupid, even though at the church where I was going, at the White Garment Church, they had told me that I was not supposed to tell my auntie that I was now working. I called her and I said, "Oh, auntie, do you know that now I am working? I am now working in town as a security guard, and I am so happy." And when she asked me what type of a job that I was doing, she was angry and she was jealous. This is what she said over the phone. Ko uri kushanda usiku kana masikati? She was asking me whether I was working on a night or a day shift, and I said usiku tete, which meant, auntie, I am working night shift. And she was like, it's very bore. And I could not understand what she was trying to say. Like, she was cursing me at that time, but I could not understand. She just dropped the call on me. The next night, I went to work as usual, but there were other things that had happened. It was like something was showing me that bad things were now about to happen, because I had this other bicycle that I used to ride going to work because I could not afford to catch a taxi. Like that bicycle, it kept on giving me a lot of problems. The chain would forever be breaking down after I had told you that I had found a job. I went to work as usual. On that day, I walked for many kilometers because my bicycle had broken down. My shift was from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. There was this other place where I would be working. It was a warehouse, so I was guiding that warehouse alone. Most nights, I would listen to the radio or listen to the music, walk around, and then they had given me the keys. So these were the keys to the reception. It was a nice reception area. There were some sofas there. So when I would have seen that the place, it is safe, I would sneak into the reception area. I had this other big jacket that I had bought at Mbare Musika. Then I would use it as a blanket. That night, there was something that was different. I woke up and I felt as if there was someone that was watching me. I went back to bed again, and then I woke up. There was this other big window that never had a curtain. So when I woke up, I immediately looked at that window, and then I saw that there was a woman. This woman, she was dark and she was light-skinned at the same time, just like my auntie, and she had the same body shape like my auntie. She was staring at me. I got scared. I screamed, not because I was brave, but I screamed because I was so scared. I was like, "Who is there? Who is there?" And then I ran out. I was holding my baton stick, and then I stood close to the gate because I was so scared that this thing that I had seen, I knew that it was not a human being, but a spirit. Maybe it was going to attack me. So I checked around and I did not see that woman again. Then there was this other time. What I used to do was that when I would be patrolling the yard, I would go and stand right next to the wall just to check if there were no thieves that were loitering around trying to sneak into the premises. So I went to the corner and then I started checking around outside if I could see any people that will be walking around trying to sneak inside. That was when I saw her again, that woman, the spirit. She was wearing a white cloth and this other duke that my auntie loved to wear, which was light blue in color. I saw her feet were not touching the ground and I could not even sleep for the rest of the shift. I then informed my cousin brother, Admire. Instead of helping me, he laughed at me and he was like, "It is because you have started smoking weed. Don't you know that weed, when you have started smoking it, it will give you some hallucinations?" 1 week later, I started coughing and I felt as if there was something that was stuck inside of my lungs. That thing was busy scratching and scratching and scratching me, and I even went to the clinic. They gave me some antibiotics, but it did not change anything because I was told that I had some lung infection, but those antibiotics did not help me at all. The dreams were the ones that were quite scary. I would see the same woman dressed in white. She would come and look and she would be staring at me whilst I'll be sleeping. I would see her standing outside of my window just looking at me. Because of everything that was happening, I started losing weight and I would have these weird dreams. And the reason as to why I was losing weight, it was because I had no appetite. I would wake up feeling like I do not want to eat anything because there will be someone that would come and force me to eat a lot of food, which would make me to be full by the time that I would have woken up, and I would have no appetite at all, and I would sweat sometimes. I'll be having these fevers. And then that was when I was fired from work because I kept on having all of these accidents. There was this other place where I was working. It was a warehouse that belonged to this other Chinese man. So he was making some packaging boxes. He would wait for trucks that will be traveling from Harare going to Masvingo. So we would pack all of those cardboard boxes that they would have made into those trucks. So during the day when I was not at work, I would go and do the piece jobs. So one day, that was when I started to feel so weak, so much that I fainted. The man then fired me. I was also fired at the place where I was working as a security guard. Things were so bad. I returned back home, and when I returned back home, even people on the bus, they were even scared to sit close to me because of the way that I was so thin. They thought that maybe I was someone that was infected with HIV. When I got to the village, like I had called my auntie when I was in town, telling her that I wanted to come to her house since she stayed in the city. She was like, "I'm not even there. I have gone somewhere and there is no one at my house, so there is no need for you to pass through my place when there is no one, because all the doors we have locked them. You can go straight to the village." I knew that she was lying. She stayed with a lot of people, but I said it is okay. When I arrived in the village, people were shocked to see the way that I had grown thin. Then there was this other lady, an old lady who was staying in the same street as we were staying. She then called me and she told me that she was going to cook some soft porridge for me. She cooked the soft porridge and she told me that I was supposed to eat. So I ate, and then all of a sudden she looked at me and she was like, "You should have never told your auntie about the job." I panicked because I had never told anyone that I had told my auntie that I had found a job as a security guard in the city. I said, "Why?" Then that was when she told me that she knew that my auntie was a witch. And she was like, "Quickly, you need to finish your food so that you can go and rest." She did not want me at her compound anymore. After I had finished eating, that was when I went to the place where I was staying. And then when it was in the evening, I felt so thirsty and hungry. This was when people had fallen fast asleep. I then said, "Let me go and get some food in the kitchen." There was this other round hut. I got out of the bedroom. As I was walking towards the round hut, I felt something strange that was watching me. I got into the kitchen, and then I took some food. When I stepped out of the kitchen, that was when I heard someone that was whispering my name and said, Brian. I said, who is it? And I found out that it was that old lady that had given me some food. She gave me some powdered tobacco, and she said, I want you to sniff it when you are about to go to bed so that your ancestors can protect you. I did as such, and then I started to have like strange dreams. And on that day, that was when I found out that indeed my auntie, she was a witch. And then she gave me some phone numbers. This was the next day. I walked for about 10 kilometers to visit this powerful traditional healer. I did not even have money for transport, but because of the situations that I was facing, I said, let me go and speak with that traditional healer. I went and I spoke with that traditional healer. He told me to sniff some tobacco as well. And then that was when he said he saw that my auntie had bewitched me. Do you know that when someone has chosen to bewitch you, they can even hold on to the things that they would have used in the ritual at the time when they would be bewitching you? Like my auntie, she started bewitching me from a very young age. She took some soil at the place where I was standing, where my shadow was on the ground. She then took some soil. She kept the soil that she had collected for many, many years. She was waiting for the right moment. And after I had sent her the money when I was here in South Africa, she took the money and a hunting knife. She went into the bushes. In our country, there is this other tree that is called a mohacha tree. She found one that was still very small, and then she tied that tree such that when the tree would be growing up, it will do so facing downwards instead of going up. That is the ritual that she performed. And then she left that knife, including the money that I had sent to her, and the soil that she had collected when I was but a young boy. That is how evil she was. That traditional healer also taught me how to communicate with the ancestors, and a ritual was performed using a white chicken as well as some tobacco and a black cloth. He then said that he wanted my umbilical cord, and I said there was no way. I did not even know where my parents had put my umbilical cord. And then he said, since you do not have that, this means that you are going to die as someone that is very poor. And I had a dream, and I told him the type of a dream that I had. I saw my auntie late at night. She was standing outside of the yard at the place where I was staying at that traditional healer's compound with other people that were sick as well. She was standing outside of the yard and she was unable to get inside. That was when she said, Brian, oh Brian, can you help me? I am feeling so thirsty because I have walked for a very long distance. And she was wearing a white garment as she was speaking with me. She wanted me to give her some water because there were these water drums that were outside. So she was like, please just give me some water so that I can drink. So when I wanted to give her the water, that was when I said, oh, you want to use me. You want this water so that you can be able to come into the compound and bewitch me. I won't do that. That was when she transformed and she became a god. And when I looked at her, her eyes were like burning flames. And then I woke up. When I returned back to the village that night, when we were seated in that kitchen hut, I confronted her. I was angry. I kept on thinking about all the bad stuff that she had done to me, all the evil things, and above it all, making me to lose my job. And then I stood up. I wanted to beat her up. And I said, why did you bewitch me? She also stood up and she said, oh, why do you think that I will bewitch a poor person like you? You are just like Porongi who walks on all four. You are just a monitor lizard to me. You are nothing. So you think that stupid job of yours, you being a security guard, it was going to make you rich? Why do you think that the little job that you had was going to take you out of poverty? Why would I bewitch someone like you. I was so angry. And then that was when she started to spit at me, and she said, ever since you were still a young boy, when I started taking care of you, I want my money. If I am going to bewitch you, I want to bewitch you so that you can give me the money that you owe to me. You owe me rent money for the years that I fed you, for the years that you stayed at my house. You thought that you can get rich without me getting my money first. I had lost it at that time with everything that she was saying. That was when I took this other paraffin stove. I went outside and then I left it outside. I returned back into the kitchen and grabbed this other 5 liters that was full of paraffin, and then I threw it on top of the roof. It was a thatched roof made out of grass, and then I threw that paraffin stove as it was burning on top of the roof. Everyone that was inside the kitchen ran outside and said, "What have you done? What have you done? Look what you have done to your auntie's house. What are you going to do now?" She then stopped them from beating me, because my elder brothers, they wanted to beat me up. And then she said, "No, leave him, let him be. Do not even report him to the police. I am going to deal with him. This war that he has started, this is just the beginning." I went and I slept at my friend's house. The next morning, I did not know what else to do. That was when I asked for my friend for some money. He gave me some money. I got onto the bus. I went to Harare. I was done trying jobs. No one even wanted to hire me anymore. I then met Blessing. Me and Blessing, we had been friends. We grew up in the same village. He was now working as a korokoza, an illegal gold miner. He was working in Mazowe. He was like, "Come with me. Forget about this life. There is real money to be made. Let us go underground and find gold. Let us make money." So me and him, that was when we went to Mazowe. When we went to Mazowe, we arrived at night. That place in Mazowe, it is not a kind of place where you want to be. It is very dangerous. It is a place of illegal gold miners. So many tunnels that are underground, surrounded by makeshift plastic houses. And the people that I was part of the syndicate with, those were outright murderers who did not even care anymore about life. And they had never returned back to their villages ever since they had came to Mazowe. All they cared about was digging up for gold, finding gold, selling it to gold buyers at a cheaper price, and then buying alcohol and finding some prostitutes and bringing those prostitutes into their makeshift plastic houses. And it was like, "Welcome, welcome. This was my friend. Now we are going to be making money." I joined their crew. It was Blessing, myself, a guy whom I'll call Tawanda, another guy who was staying in Glenora, and 2 brothers that were from Mondoro. Those ones, you could tell that they were hardened criminals. They never spoke a lot, and each and every time when they would speak, it would be war. So we were living in our shacks and we would go underground and hustle. This was not a place where you could enjoy. When someone is an illegal gold miner, he is at war. It is war. Every day we will dig using hammers and shovels. I was someone who thought that when you are working, you need to have safety helmets, boots, as well as rules at the place where you would be working. But illegal gold miners, they do not care about rules. We would go underground, crawl for meters, sometimes under old mines and under private land, looking for gold. And then that was when I made a mistake. I murdered someone underground. There was this other man. I really did not know what I did to that man. So the day that we went underground, it was me and him. We were inside this other tunnel, and then he started fighting with me. I don't know what I did to him. Maybe I had slept with his girlfriend without me knowing that he was dating the same woman that I was dating. I truly do not even know. He started fighting with me. As he was fighting with me, that was when I hit him on his back with a hammer and he fell down. So I buried him underground, and when I came up, I then told my syndicate, because what happens is that when you go underground, then people would be scattered all over the place waiting for their chance to go underground. When I came up, I saw that everyone was fast asleep, including the guys that I was with in my syndicate. I woke them up and I told them that I had made a mistake underground and I had murdered the guy that I was with. So we went underground and then we found out that indeed he was dead. We started pulling him up and then we removed him from the shaft. This was somewhere around 2 a.m. when we took him to the bushes. Lucky enough, there was no one who saw us. We dug a shallow grave with our own shovels and we wrapped him in a gray blanket, no coffin, and we buried in a shallow grave. And then we returned back and we pretended as if we were fast asleep. When you are an illegal gold miner, no one cares what you do or where you go to, really. This man, he had been saying that he plans to go to Botswana, so people just thought that maybe he had gone to Botswana. I started to have strange dreams. I would wake up and I would find out that on my pillow there would be red sand all over the place. And the funny thing was that at the place where we buried this man, as we were digging up the sand there, it was red. Sometimes when I would tilt my head like this, then place my hand on my ear, when I would remove it, it would be full of red sand. And I would see this man accusing me of burying him like a dog. And then I stopped being an illegal gold miner. That was when I met my wife, whom I'll call Memory. I met her. She was sitting at a taxi rank that is called Copacabana. She was selling second-hand bras and panties as well as handbags. We had not seen each other since she was in Form 2. And when I looked at her, she looked at me. We started talking until we started dating. Eventually, we got married. She got pregnant and she gave birth to my first child. And after that, when we tried for another baby, when we came to South Africa, it was miscarriage after miscarriage. That was when I knew that there was something that was wrong. Me and him, we went to a white garment church. Then the prophet said, let us go to the spaza shop, for there is something that we need to buy. When we had left my wife at that prophet's house, that was when he said, no, there is nothing that we need to buy from the spaza shop. I just wanted to speak with you. For the time when I was busy helping you, I saw that your hands, they are full of blood. I was so scared and I told that man everything that had happened. And then he told me that I was supposed to look for a traditional healer. He was the only one that could cleanse me. I then looked for a healer. This was a South African Sangoma. I spoke with that traditional healer and I told him everything that had happened to me. At that time, my wife, she was pregnant again. And then this man said the only way that I could stop the spirit of the man that I had murdered from giving me sleepless nights, if only I could become a cult member. He told me that he knew this other Nigerian man who was part of a cult. He took me to that man. When we went there, Brother Nashi, I had never seen such a beautiful house from the outside, but it was evil. It looked evil from the inside. I was taken into this other room. The room had black walls, red curtains, and there was an idol. This god of theirs, it was breathing. It had 3 dog faces, but it looked like a man. It was watching me, and I was then made to swear an oath that whatever this idol was going to demand from me, I would be willing to do it. And I said yes. Little did I know that the blood of my child was going to be demanded. I then joined that group, and then that was when our child passed away. When our child passed away, no one knew that it was a sacrifice. It was only I who knew that my child was a victim of a sacrifice so that I can make money. I was then given a clay pot. This clay pot, it is always full of blood. The rule that I have to follow is that when I see that there is no more blood in that clay pot, then I need to find a woman that will be on her periods, give her money, convince her to sleep with me without using any protection at all. On a single day, I can propose love and sleep with women, sometimes even up to 40 women on a single day, knowing that if I manage to do that, then amongst those 40 women, I can find one that will be on her period. I will give her so much money so that she can agree to sleep with me without using protection. The time that I'll be sleeping with her when she is on her period, I would be putting blood in that clay pot so that I can keep on making money. So this is my own confession. There are the things that I did when they took me to Nigeria. I'm scared that if I say things that they made me to do in Nigeria, it can get me in trouble, because that cult, they make sure that when you join the cult, you have to commit sins that will make you to never want to go to church, and you will never be able to find grace again. They made us to commit sins against children as well. So I hope that by posting my own story, there might be someone that will be able to find their way to Christ, even though it might be too late for me. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our brother right there. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Let us talk about this in the comment section.